Before we go any further, take a deep breath and lean into this moment, because the energy around this message is heavy, emotional, and impossible to ignore. There is a realization unfolding right now that cannot be undone. It's the kind of realization that arrives quietly at first, then crashes all at once, leaving someone sitting with a truth they can no longer escape. As I tune into this title, 3 cards immediately step forward: Judgment, 5 of Cups, and the Hermit. And together they tell a story of awakening, regret, and painful self-awareness. This isn't about surface-level guilt. This is about something finally hitting them at the core of their soul. What's powerful here is the timing. This realization didn't come when they had you, or when they still felt in control. It came when silence grew louder than words, when distance forced reflection, and when they could no longer distract themselves from what they had done. Judgment shows that a truth has been called forward. 5 of Cups reveals deep remorse and loss, and the Hermit exposes long nights of thinking, replaying moments, and realizing where they went wrong. Sophia, this message carries a weight that can't be faked, and the energy feels raw, vulnerable, and undeniable. There is a sense here that they are looking back now with clearer eyes, seeing not just their actions, but the impact those actions had on you. They understand now that something real was mishandled, something sacred was taken for granted. This isn't about pride anymore. It's about facing themselves in the quiet, without excuses, without denial. Stay with me, because when we move deeper into this reading, each card reveals exactly how this realization unfolded, what it's doing to them emotionally, and why this moment matters more than they ever expected. Judgment comes through as the moment everything they tried to avoid finally rises to the surface. This card speaks of an awakening that cannot be delayed any longer, a deep inner reckoning where excuses collapse and truth stands exposed. When Judgment appears for this topic, it shows that something inside them has been activated, almost like an alarm they can no longer silence. They are no longer numb to what they did or how they treated you. Instead, they are feeling it fully, and that awareness is both sobering and overwhelming. This isn't a light realization. Judgment carries the weight of accountability. It shows that they are replaying conversations, moments, and choices with fresh eyes, suddenly understanding how their words, actions, or silence affected you. What once felt justified or insignificant to them now feels heavy with meaning. They see where they crossed lines, where they failed to protect the connection, and where they chose ego, ear, or comfort over respect and care. This card reveals that the truth didn't come from someone else pointing fingers. It came from within, which makes it impossible for them to dismiss. Judgment also brings a sense of emotional exposure. They feel seen by the universe, by their higher self, and by their own conscience. There's a feeling here of standing emotionally bare, unable to hide behind old narratives. They may be realizing that you didn't overreact, that you weren't asking for too much, and that the pain you carried was real. This awareness can be deeply uncomfortable because it forces them to accept that they played a role in losing something meaningful. Judgment doesn't allow them to escape responsibility. It asks them to own it. Another powerful layer of this card is regret mixed with clarity. They finally understand the consequences of their choices, not in an abstract way, but in a deeply personal one. They recognize that treating you the way they did created distance, silence, or loss. And now they are sitting with that outcome. This realization may come in waves, moments where it suddenly hits them out of nowhere, followed by a heavy emotional drop. Judgment energy often arrives when someone is alone, when distractions fade, and the heart starts speaking louder than the mind. At the same time, judgment is not only about guilt, it's about transformation. This card suggests that this realization is changing them internally. They are being forced to grow up emotionally, to mature, and to face parts of themselves they once ignored. They are learning that love, trust, and connection are fragile, and once mishandled, they cannot be easily restored. The pain they feel now is part of that lesson. It's not punishment, it's awakening. Judgment also shows a strong desire for redemption. They may be thinking about what they would say if they had the chance, how they would explain themselves, or how they could make things right. Even if they don't act on it yet, the thought of accountability is present. They know apologies cannot erase the past, but the need to acknowledge the truth is growing stronger inside them. This card suggests that silence is no longer comfortable for them, because their conscience keeps calling them back to you and to what happened. Spiritually, judgment represents a karmic moment. What they put out has come back for review. The way they treated you is now being reflected back to them through emotion, loss, or inner discomfort. They are learning that actions echo and words leave marks. This realization didn't come too early, and it didn't come too late. It came exactly when they were ready to see clearly, even if it hurts. In the context of this topic, judgment confirms that it finally hit them because they were meant to feel it. This is not temporary guilt or surface-level regret. This is a soul-level wake-up call that forces them to confront who they were and who they need to become. Whether or not they ever express this to you directly, the truth is alive inside them now. They know they treated you wrong, and that realization has permanently changed the way they see you, themselves, and the connection they once took for granted. The Five of Cups carries a very heavy emotional tone in this reading because it speaks directly to loss, regret, and the pain of realizing what cannot be undone. When this card appears for this topic, it shows that the moment of realization has already passed, and now they are sitting in the aftermath of it. This is the stage where emotions sink deep into the heart, where the weight of their actions becomes impossible to ignore. They are not just aware that they treated you wrong, they are feeling the emotional cost of it. This card shows someone looking back with sorrow, focused on what is spilled, what has been lost, and what can never return to the way it was. They are replaying memories of you, moments they once overlooked or undervalued, and now those memories carry a sting. What once felt ordinary now feels precious in hindsight. The Five of Cups reveals that they miss not just your presence, but the safety, understanding, and emotional grounding you brought into their life. There's a strong sense of, I didn't realize what I had until it was gone. Emotionally, this card shows deep self-blame. They are recognizing that the pain they feel now is connected to choices they made back then. They see how their behavior created distance, disappointment, or heartbreak, and that realization hurts more than any external consequence ever could. This isn't about someone else taking your place or life simply moving on. This is about them sitting with an emptiness that only your absence seems to highlight. The silence feels louder now because they know they are the reason for it. The Five of Cups also shows a sense of emotional isolation. Even if they are surrounded by people, there is a loneliness here that doesn't ease. They feel misunderstood, not because others are treating them poorly, but because no one else knows the depth of what they lost. There is grief here, not just for the connection, but for the version of themselves they were when they had you. They are mourning the future they could have had if they had acted differently, spoken more gently, or valued you more consistently. This card also reveals moments of emotional breakdown that come unexpectedly. Something small may remind them of you, a song, a place, a phrase, and suddenly the regret rushes in. They may try to distract themselves, but the feeling keeps returning. Five of Cups energy lingers because it forces someone to feel the pain they avoided at the time. They didn't feel it then, so they are feeling it now, fully and deeply. There is also an element of shame in this card. They may feel embarrassed by their own behavior in hindsight, realizing that they acted from immaturity, fear, or ego. They see now that you didn't deserve the way you were treated, and that awareness brings sadness mixed with self-criticism. This card shows them wishing they could pour the cups back, wishing they could reverse time, but knowing deep down that they can't. That helplessness is part of what makes this realization so painful. Yet even in sorrow, the Five of Cups carries a quiet lesson. While they are focused on what they lost, the card suggests there is an opportunity for emotional growth if they choose to look beyond regret. However, at this stage, they are still grieving. They are still processing the emotional weight of their actions. This isn't performative sadness or fleeting guilt. It's a genuine emotional low point that forces them to confront how deeply their choices affected both you and themselves. In the context of this topic, the Five of Cups confirms that the realization didn't just hit their mind, it hit their heart. They feel the loss, the regret, and the sadness in a very real way. Treating you wrong didn't just cost them the connection. It left an emotional imprint they carry with them now. This card shows that they are learning, through pain, what your presence truly meant, and that understanding stays with them long after the moment of realization has passed. The Hermit reveals what happens after the realization and the regret have fully settled in. This card speaks of withdrawal, silence, and deep inner reflection. When the Hermit appears for this topic, it shows that they have stepped away from noise, distractions, and outside opinions because they can no longer avoid their own thoughts. This is not loneliness forced upon them by circumstances alone. It is a retreat chosen by the soul. They are searching for answers within, and those answers all seem to lead back to you and to how they treated you. This card shows long moments of solitude where memories resurface without warning. In the quiet, they replay situations where they could have chosen differently, spoken with more care, or acted with more respect. The Hermit energy suggests that they are finally listening to their conscience, the inner voice they ignored before, without the chaos of everyday life to drown it out. That voice is now loud and persistent. It keeps reminding them of the moments they dismissed your feelings, underestimated your worth, or assumed you would always be there. Emotionally, the Hermit reflects deep self-examination. They are questioning their patterns, their emotional maturity, and the way they show up in connections. This card shows them asking hard questions they once avoided, such as why they pushed you away, why they acted from fear or pride, and why they struggled to meet you with the same depth you offered. These reflections are not comfortable, but they are necessary. The Hermit does not sugarcoat the truth. It illuminates it slowly, forcing growth through honesty. There is also a sense of emotional heaviness here, because isolation amplifies regret. When they are alone, there is nothing to distract them from the truth. They may find themselves feeling restless, unable to fully escape their thoughts, yet unwilling to rush back into distractions that no longer satisfy them. The Hermit shows that they are in a phase of emotional processing where they are trying to understand not only what they lost, but why they lost it. This search for meaning is deeply personal and transformative. The Hermit also indicates humility. They are realizing that they don't have all the answers and that their past behavior came from unresolved inner wounds. This awareness makes them quieter, more reserved, and more thoughtful. They may be less reactive now, less defensive, because they see how those traits contributed to the breakdown of the connection. This card suggests they are learning the value of patience, introspection, and emotional accountability, even if that learning comes through discomfort. Spiritually, the Hermit represents a soul lesson. They are being guided to slow down and truly understand themselves before attempting to reconnect or move forward. This is not a time for impulsive actions or empty words. It is a time for inner alignment. They are realizing that treating you wrong was not just a mistake toward you, but a reflection of how disconnected they were from their own higher self at the time. That realization is humbling and deeply impactful. In the context of this topic, the Hermit confirms that they are no longer running from the truth. They are sitting with it, learning from it, and allowing it to change them internally. This card shows that the realization and regret have pushed them into a period of growth that cannot be rushed. Whether or not they ever express these thoughts to you directly, the inner work is happening. They know they treated you wrong, and now, in the quiet, they are facing that truth with honesty, reflection, and a desire to become better than who they were when they let you go. When Judgment, 5 of Cups, and the Hermit come together for this topic, they tell a complete emotional story, not just of realization, but of what happens before it, during it, and long after it settles into the heart. This combination speaks of a moment that changed everything internally for them. Even if nothing has been said out loud, it shows how awareness turned into regret, and how regret pushed them into deep isolation and self-reflection. This isn't a quick wave of guilt. This is a soul-deep process unfolding in stages. Judgment is where it all begins. This is the moment it finally hit them, not softly, but with undeniable force. Something triggered it: silence, distance, loss, or simply time, and suddenly they saw the truth clearly. Judgment strips away denial and excuses. It forces them to look honestly at how they treated you and to recognize that their actions mattered more than they wanted to admit. In this energy, they realized that you weren't asking for too much, you weren't difficult, and you weren't imagining things. You were responding to real behavior, and now they see that. This awakening feels shocking to them, because it reframes the entire connection in their mind. As Judgment opens their eyes, the 5 of Cups opens their heart, and that's where the pain truly sets in. This card shows what happens after awareness, the emotional fallout. They begin to feel the loss deeply, focusing on everything that went wrong and everything they wish they could take back. Memories of you surface unexpectedly, and what once felt normal now feels irreplaceable. The 5 of Cups shows grief, regret, and sorrow, not just for losing you, but for realizing how their own choices led to that loss. They are mourning what could have been, and that grief lingers because it is tied to self-blame. This is where the realization stops being intellectual and becomes emotional. They don't just know they treated you wrong, they feel it. They feel it in the quiet moments, in the absence of your voice, and in the emptiness that no distraction seems to fill. The Five of Cups shows them stuck in those feelings for a while, replaying scenarios and wishing they had acted differently. There is sadness here, but also a sense of humility. They understand now that what they lost was meaningful, and that realization hurts more than they expected. Then comes the Hermit, and this card explains what they do with all of that emotion. Instead of acting impulsively or rushing to fix things, they withdraw. The Hermit shows them pulling back from the world to process everything internally. They need space, not to escape responsibility, but to understand themselves. In solitude, they reflect on patterns, fears, and emotional immaturity that contributed to how they treated you. This card reveals long periods of introspection where they question who they were in the connection and why they behaved the way they did. The Hermit also shows growth beginning to form, quietly and slowly. They are no longer blaming circumstances or other people. They are looking inward, asking hard questions, and facing uncomfortable truths. This is where they realize that treating you wrong was not just a mistake toward you, but a reflection of their own inner disconnect. That awareness changes them. It humbles them. It makes them quieter, more thoughtful, and more aware of the weight their actions carry. Together, these three cards show a powerful emotional evolution. Judgment awakens them, Five of Cups breaks their heart open, and the Hermit reshapes them from the inside. This combination confirms that the realization is real and lasting. It didn't pass through them quickly. It stayed. It forced them to sit with discomfort, regret, and truth until something inside them shifted. What's especially important here is that this process is happening whether or not they reach out, apologize, or explain themselves. The cards show an internal reckoning first. This is not performative remorse or regret meant to gain sympathy. This is private, quiet, and deeply personal. They know now that you mattered more than they showed, and that knowledge stays with them. For you, this combination carries validation. It confirms that what you felt was real, that your pain was not imagined, and that their realization came because it was meant to. You didn't lose something because you weren't enough. You stepped away from something that couldn't meet you at the time. These cards show that the lesson landed where it needed to, even if it came too late to change the outcome. Judgment, Five of Cups, and the Hermit together reveal that they are forever changed by how they treated you. They see it now, they feel it now, and in the quiet, they are learning from it. Whether your paths cross again or not, the truth has settled into their soul, and that realization cannot be undone.